My beloved child, I need you to pause everything and listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you has been held in heaven's timing and now it's being released just for you. This is not random. This is divine appointment. You were drawn to this moment not by accident but by orchestration, because I've watched you walk through places that nearly broke you, and yet here you are still standing. I see your heart trembling with questions, but let me answer you with truth. Heaven has been waiting on this exact second when you would open this message, and all of heaven is rejoicing because you chose not to give up. The angels that were assigned to you have not left your side even once, and they are shouting with joy because the seal of silence is now breaking over your life. You've cried out in the secret places, and though it seemed like the skies were quiet, I was collecting every word and storing them in my heart. You were never ignored. You were never left unseen. I delayed some answers not to hurt you but to perfect what you've been asking for, because good news without the right timing becomes another burden. But right now my spirit is moving across everything that tried to hold you back, and I am sending this word into your spirit like lightning to awaken what pain tried to numb. You were made for this moment. You were designed for this breakthrough. Every breath you've taken was leading to this divine alignment, and now the waiting ends. The heaviness that's been sitting on your chest is about to break because my word is breathing resurrection into what looked dead. This is why the attacks intensified, why confusion increased, and why your faith felt strained, because the enemy saw what I was about to release. But he has no power to stop what I've spoken. Right now, I am commanding the winds to shift in your favor. I am restoring the years the locusts devoured, and I am reversing verdicts that were spoken prematurely over your life. The good news isn't coming, it's already moving. It's alive. It's activated. It's flowing like a river through dry ground. You will not stay where you've been. You will not be stuck in cycles. You are crossing over into the place of answered prayers, not because you earned it, but because I love you fiercely and I made a covenant with my own blood to carry you forward. Keep your heart open. Don't resist the sudden joy that's rising, because that joy is the proof that my presence is invading what once felt hopeless. This is the moment the pages begin to turn, and your new chapter doesn't start with a whisper, it begins with a trumpet blast from heaven declaring, you are chosen, you are seen, you are free, and you are about to witness what eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. I am with you now, more tangibly than ever before. So stay right here because I am just getting started. You may not realize this yet, but everything you've whispered when no one was watching has reached the depths of my throne, and I didn't wait for thunder or lightning to begin working. I moved in quiet power the moment your lips formed the request. Even before you saw any indication that something was happening, I had already sent instructions into realms you cannot see, and pieces began aligning with divine precision. You wondered if anything was shifting, but I want you to know this. Movement doesn't always make noise. Sometimes, my greatest miracles begin in silence beneath the surface, beyond your senses, in ways too intricate to comprehend. You were looking for signs outside, but the signs have been blooming within you. The sudden moments of peace, the flicker of hope you couldn't explain, the moments you felt strength return when it made no sense. Those were not coincidences. Those were confirmations. You thought I hadn't answered because nothing looked different yet, but I was already ahead of you, creating outcomes you wouldn't even think to request. Your faith didn't go unnoticed, your surrender didn't go to waste. I honored your private battles, and I am responding with a public shift. I heard you when you prayed with trembling lips and a tired soul, and I said yes not based on your performance, but because I saw your heart trust me even in the unknown. I didn't need the world to hear you. I needed heaven to record you, and heaven did. You thought it was taking too long, but I am not bound by human timelines. What I am orchestrating is bigger than the answers you imagined, and if I gave it to you too soon, it would have collapsed under pressure. That's why I slowed things down to fortify the foundation and position the right people at the right place, with the right hearts. And now, I'm activating the release. You'll begin to see evidence appear without warning. People will speak your name in rooms you've never entered. Doors will swing open without you knocking, and resources will arrive without explanation. This is not a coincidence. This is compensation. This is my response to the petitions you made when you were half broken and still chose to believe. I kept every word you said to me in trust, and now I'm fulfilling what you didn't even remember praying for. I counted every sleepless night as worship and every silent groan as intercession. Not one moment slipped past my awareness. You didn't need to prove yourself. You just needed to keep walking, and you did. Even when your steps were slow, I measured them as obedience. You didn't know it, but I've been writing a new chapter under the weight of your faith, and it's about to be revealed line by line. The people around you may not understand how or why it's happening, but I do because I was there when you sowed in tears, and now I'm commanding a harvest in joy. I'm not just answering one prayer, I'm unlocking a chain of events that will rewrite your season. This is not random breakthrough, this is appointed fulfillment. You waited quietly, so now I will respond loudly. You believed when it hurt, so now I will reward you publicly. Watch closely, my child, for the coming hours and days will carry whispers of evidence, signs wrapped in ordinary moments that carry extraordinary power. You will be surprised by how naturally the supernatural unfolds when I'm the one directing the script. So stay expectant, not anxious. Stay open, not overwhelmed. The wind of favor is blowing your way, and it will not miss its target. What I started in secret is now manifesting openly, and you're about to walk into rooms grace prepared long before you knew you'd need them. Keep watching. Keep listening. The answers you forgot are arriving ahead of time, and I won't let a single promise fall. I am the God who hears, sees, and moves, and I've been moving for you all along. There were nights when you questioned whether I was even listening, when the stillness wrapped around you so tightly it felt like I had vanished, but what seemed like silence was actually me working in dimensions far deeper than the surface. While your ears heard nothing, my hands were orchestrating blueprints that stretched further than your mind could reach. I was layering moments, people, timings, and locations in such intentional order that even a single interruption would have compromised the magnitude of what's on its way. That quiet season wasn't empty, it was sacred construction. I was building without announcing it. I didn't speak because I was preserving the power of the reveal. Some things I cannot say until they are secure, and this was one of them. I needed you to lean not on sight or sound but on trust, because trust unlocks what information never can. I've been molding the outcome in silence so that when it appears, it won't look like anything you've ever seen before. It will be something you can compare to another story. It will be unmistakably yours. I wasn't delaying out of neglect, I was perfecting what needed to be flawless. I know what it's like to be misunderstood when you're preparing a miracle. Even my own were confused when I slept during the storm. But they didn't realize that peace was the evidence of authority. I wasn't inactive, I was reigning. In the same way, my quiet over your situation wasn't abandonment, it was assurance. My presence was hovering, not absent. While your surroundings felt still, your destiny was expanding behind the veil. The prayers you forgot, the cries you buried, the desires you labeled as impossible, I took them all and wove them into something exceeding even your most hopeful expectations. I've been crafting details that no man could manipulate, opening paths that can't be sabotaged, and creating moments that only I could pull together. And now, the time of revelation is beginning. You're going to walk into places that feel like deja vu, not because you imagined them, but because your spirit glimpsed them long before your eyes could comprehend. This is the result of faith that endured when nothing felt certain. You chose to believe when it would have been easier to shut down. You kept walking when standing still felt safer. That movement, even if trembling, gave me permission to multiply what you entrusted to me. I never ignore courageous hearts. I elevate them. I magnify their obedience. And now I am delivering results that cannot be traced back to effort alone, they will point to grace. Those around you may try to explain it, reduce it, or dismiss it, but they won't be able to replicate it, because this isn't manufactured, it's divine. You are stepping into evidence of a designer who never sleeps, a father who never stops weaving, and a king who always fulfills his word. My child, I know how hard it was for you to keep believing when every echo told you I wasn't speaking. But now, you'll understand why the silence was so prolonged, because what I was preparing needed layers of protection. If I had spoken too soon, it would have been exposed before it was ready. I held it in secrecy until it was unshakable. You didn't miss anything. You're not behind. You're not overlooked. You are on schedule, and I am unveiling what eyes haven't seen and hearts couldn't imagine. What comes next will not be subtle. It will carry the weight of my signature, the mark of my hand, the imprint of my love for you. So stay awake in your spirit, for what you thought was absence was actually my focus. I wasn't gone. I was immersed in designing something so powerful that even your deepest faith wouldn't have guessed how glorious it would be. The silence was never the end. It was a preparation before the sound of fulfillment breaks through. And that sound is about to fill your life. You felt the weight of time stretch beyond what your heart could carry, and in moments you almost convinced yourself that my answer had been no, when in truth, I was giving you something better than an answer. I was preparing alignment. What you labeled as delay was actually me holding the door closed just long enough to keep you from walking into something too soon. If I had released the blessing before its foundation was ready, it would have buckled under pressure and brought frustration instead of fulfillment. So I slowed the pace, not to punish you, but to protect the promise. I watched you wrestle with the stillness, and though it broke your rhythm, it was refining your readiness. Some doors looked good but were coated in deception. I kept them shut because I love you too deeply to let you settle for illusions. What looked like waiting was me filtering what didn't match your destiny. I knew what was on the other side of those timelines you so desperately tried to rush through. But I don't work according to speed. I move my purpose. You were focused on time. I was focused on completion. You wanted results. I wanted resilience. I wasn't ignoring your urgency. I was preserving the integrity of what I had promised. Even when you couldn't sense me adjusting circumstances in the background, I was pruning distractions, removing counterfeit provisions, and reordering hearts around you so that when the moment arrived, you'd step into wholeness instead of instability. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned. You are not behind. You are being calibrated. I had to pause the process because something greater was being constructed beyond what your natural vision could perceive. Had I not slowed you down, you would have attached yourself to temporary answers. But what I have for you is permanent, lasting, and rooted in truth. You may have grieved the seasons that felt stagnant, but I was multiplying strength within you that will outlast the season itself. Delays don't mean I'm distant. Sometimes they're my loudest way of saying, not yet, but trust me. And because you waited, even through tears and torment, I am now releasing something that will silence every voice that told you to quit. This unveiling will be marked with my authority, my timing, and my strategy. You will not have to manipulate it, force it, or chase it. It will enter like sunrise, right on time, without effort, undeniable in beauty. I watched as you waited while others ran ahead. I saw you sit still when every part of you wanted to move. But in your stillness, I worked. In your surrender, I sowed seeds that are now bursting forth. The fields may have looked barren, but underneath the soil of delay, roots were being established so deeply that nothing will uproot what's coming. You didn't waste your time. You survived divine pauses that few have the endurance to carry. And because of that, the acceleration that follows will not be natural. It will be heaven-ordained. Yours will open with a weight of favor that time could not have manufactured on its own. I will redeem every hour you thought was lost. The years that seemed wasted will bear fruit so quickly. It will confuse those who thought your waiting was in vain. This was never about punishment. It was about precision. And now that the moment has arrived, you'll understand that what you thought was holding you back was actually setting you apart. Every second I delayed was a second I used to shield your promise from exposure too early. Now, the appointed hour has struck, and what was once withheld is now flowing freely. My child, breathe deeply. This is not another pause. This is the moment your preparation meets my performance. The divine delay is over, and what's being released is greater than anything you tried to reach on your own. Each drop that escaped your eyes wasn't unnoticed, it was planted in the unseen places where my hand turns pain into power. I gathered those tears with reverence, for they weren't signs of weakness. They were evidence of unwavering hope held through agony. You cried, not because you were defeated, but because you were determined to hold on when everything around you said to let go. And I didn't waste a single one. Those tears were not signs of despair, they were the waters that nourished something far more beautiful than what was visible. Beneath the sorrow, I was sowing joy. Beneath the grief, I was fertilizing laughter. Beneath the aching, I was preparing overflow. You thought your weeping was in vain, but it was a sacred language, one that moves my heart and stirs my promises. I didn't require words to act on your behalf. I just needed your broken yes. And you gave it. Quietly. Faithfully. In rooms where no one clapped. In valleys where no one saw. But I saw. I recorded every trembling moment as worship. I measured every sigh as a declaration of trust. And now, because of what you endured, I am commanding the earth around you to yield. Your emotional drought is giving way to divine rainfall. Your dry season is collapsing under the weight of what I've been preparing. You are not going to be repaid in proportion to your pain. You are going to be overwhelmed by the scale of joy I am sending your way. It's not just healing, it's wholeness. It's not just restoration, it's recompense. I am turning the very source of your sadness into the birthplace of miracles. Where you cried, you'll soon dance. Where you mourned, you'll soon testify. And it will be temporary relief, it will be a stream that doesn't run dry. Others may not understand how deeply you were crushed, but I do, and that's why the blessing will exceed what anyone could have predicted. You never needed them to see it. I saw it. I was with you when your pillow soaked with exhaustion. I was near when you smiled through anguish. I was holding you when strength failed, but you kept believing anyway. That unseen warfare, that inner struggle, it was not for nothing. Those moments were not wasted, they were woven into the fabric of your destiny. And now, joy is not coming in fragments, it's arriving in waves. My spirit is announcing a reversal of sorrow, a divine exchange of heaviness for gladness. I'm not handing you back what you lost, I'm giving you something new that never fades. You'll laugh again, not because the past is forgotten, but because my presence has redeemed it. I'm not asking you to pretend the pain never happened, I'm showing you how I've transformed it into holy ground. The very places you wept will become locations of celebration. The atmosphere is shifting. The mourning has served its purpose. What once oppressed you is breaking apart under the sound of my command. And as this joy comes, it won't feel fragile, it will be fierce. It will rise in you with such certainty that doubt will suffocate under its brightness. The laughter coming will carry depth. It won't be shallow happiness. It will be grounded in the awareness that I never left, never failed, never forgot. I've watched you carry sorrow with dignity. Now I'm clothing you with beauty that sorrow can no longer touch. What is forming now will not be taken from you. It is sealed, secured, and wrapped in divine timing. Your mourning season wasn't pointless, it was prophetic. It made way for this release. And this joy won't just stay with you, it will overflow to those around you. You'll be a walking testimony of how my love rewrites everything. So let go of the fear that you'll break again. You're not in the same season. You're not the same person. The ground you once cried on is now being covered in laughter, and the harvest has only just begun. I watched every hidden blow, every whispered betrayal, every attempt to diminish your name when no one else was looking, and though it appeared as if they got away with it, I was not blind, nor was I inactive. The injustice that tried to quietly humiliate you has reached its expiration, and now I am stepping in with vindication that will be both undeniable and untouchable. They spoke with confidence because they thought there would be no consequence. They moved in secret, thinking my silence meant absence, but I was recording every detail with perfect justice in my hand. I saw the lies stitched behind your back, the doors closed to you unfairly, the smiles that masked manipulation. And while you held your tongue and continued forward with grace, I was building a response not of revenge, but of redemption so radiant that it would expose every shadow by the brightness of my glory over your life. You did not retaliate, and because of that, you've made room for me to act with power. You didn't try to defend yourself, and now I will be your defense. You endured their silence, their rejection, their distortion of your motives, and you still chose humility. That posture of surrender has reached my heart like a cry from the altar, and I am answering with exposure, restoration, and elevation. The very ones who tried to erase you will now witness what happens when I raise someone they tried to bury. I will not only bring you justice, I will bring you visibility. I am placing you in positions where the very people who dismissed your worth will have no choice but to see the honor I'm wrapping around you. Not to shame them, but to prove that I always stand with the ones who walk in truth. I know the ache of being misunderstood, misrepresented, mistreated, and so do you. That is why this next move is personal to me. I am healing what they wounded, lifting what they trampled, and breathing new identity where they tried to stamp out your voice. You did not seek the spotlight, but I am placing favor upon you that no shadow can hide. The vindication will not be loud with arguments, it will be quiet with undeniable fruit. They won't need to hear a rebuttal, because the evidence of my hand on your life will speak volumes. I will give you dignity where they gave you dishonor. I will crown you with confidence where they tried to cloak you in shame. I will raise your head where they tried to bend your back with weight you were never meant to carry. You will rise not in bitterness but in brilliance. Not with a grudge but with grace. I will cause others to see you through a lens they cannot distort. Because it won't be your voice they hear, it will be my authority that announces your return. No lie can silence what I am about to proclaim over your life. And what I declare cannot be reversed. You will no longer walk as the one who was tolerated, you will walk as one who is treasured. The same platforms from which they excluded you will become stages where I display my favor. The same spaces that rejected you will request your presence. The same mouths that spread falsehood will be silenced by the weight of the truth I'm revealing. I am not doing this in secret, I am doing it publicly, so there will be no confusion. Your promotion will not be quiet. Your elevation will not be subtle. This is not for applause, it is for my glory. I am lifting you in the open, so that the same eyes that watched you break will now witness you bloom. I'm not interested in revenge, I'm invested in your restoration. You trusted me to handle what you couldn't confront, and now I will reward you with the kind of peace that no slander can disrupt. Prepare yourself to walk through doors they never thought you'd even see, because the one who saw what they tried to hide is now making all things right completely, publicly, and permanently. I know there were moments you felt invisible, like the world moved on and left you in the shadows, unnoticed, uncared for, bypassed while others seemed to rise without effort. But I want you to feel this truth settle deep into your soul. I have never turned my face from you. You were not lost in the crowd. Your name hath been written on my heart since the beginning, and not for a second did I lose sight of you. When everyone else was busy chasing their own desires, I was standing by your side, attentive to your sighs, aware of your thoughts, absorbing the ache in your chest as if it were my own. You were never on the outside of my attention. I watched you press on when encouragement was nowhere to be found. I saw how you spoke kindness into others while longing to hear just one word of hope spoken over you. I caught every thought that wondered if you still mattered, and I silenced every demonic whisper that tried to convince you that your life didn't count. It did. It does. And it always will. Ironess is not measured by noise or activity, it's felt in the stillness, in the breath that fills your lungs when you think you can't take another step. Even when your surroundings screamed loneliness, my presence was wrapped around you tighter than the air you breathe. I was there when no one stayed. I was near when the silence echoed louder than the pain. I stood beside you when the weight of rejection tried to crush your worth. You didn't know it, but I was the one holding your spine straight, giving you just enough strength to rise again. Not because you weren't tired, but because I would not let go. You were never abandoned. You were never discarded. Even when people forgot your efforts, I wrote every act of faithfulness into eternal record. What others passed by without notice, I celebrated in heaven. When you loved sacrificially and received nothing in return, I took it as a royal offering. When you chose humility over retaliation, I lifted your name in places no one else could access. The feeling of being forgotten was never from me, it was a lie planted to keep you from stepping into the significance I breathed into your being. You are seen more clearly than you could ever imagine. And not just seen, I've marked you for a purpose so specific that no one else can fulfill it. There's a role only you carry, an assignment uniquely tailored to your design. And I am closer now than ever before, not observing from a distance, but walking within every heartbeat, every decision, every unknown turn. You will never be too far for me to reach, never too broken for me to restore, never too behind for me to catch you up. I dwell with the crushed in spirit. I abide with the weary. I wrap myself around the ones who feel forgotten, not to sympathize from afar, but to infuse them with assurance that I never forget. Your life is precious to me not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. You are mine. My gaze hasn't shifted. My hand hasn't loosened. My love hasn't paused. While others scanned for outward success, I lingered in the depths of your unseen perseverance. While you felt passed over, I was preparing to bring you forward. And when I lift you, it won't be to prove anything to people, it will be to reveal the intimacy you and I have built in the fire of obscurity. What's coming next will not be about popularity, it will be about proximity. You are not being raised for performance, but for presence. I am doing it because I love you, because you trusted me when it was hard, because you remained when others left. And that's why I want you to know this now more than ever. I have not moved away from you, I have drawn so near that even your next breath cannot come without me. That's how close I am. And I'm not leaving. What looked like defeat was never your downfall, it was divine repositioning. They thought they were silencing you, covering you up, ending your influence. But I was placing you deeper so that your roots could reach places shallow victories never touch. You didn't fall apart, you were hidden for protection, for growth, for transformation. When opposition came like a flood, I allowed it not to drown you, but to saturate the soil for your future increase. You felt the weight of being pushed down, misunderstood, forgotten, but what they called failure, I called preparation. You were not buried by darkness, you were sown in purpose. The grave they tried to throw you into was actually sacred ground where I began crafting an indestructible foundation. You didn't lose your voice, you were being tuned to speak with greater clarity. You didn't lose your value, it was being multiplied through adversity. I allowed the crushing not to punish you, but to produce something fragrant, something lasting, something heaven designed. The pain you endured in isolation was never about punishment, it was about purification. I needed to cut away what couldn't go with you into this next season. And while the world saw absence, I was cultivating resilience. I did explain it to everyone because they weren't meant to understand it yet. Your journey isn't for spectators, it's for my glory. You were buried so I could resurrect you on ground no one expected you to rise from. The enemy wanted you to disappear under pressure, to sink under the opinions, to collapse beneath exhaustion, but instead, I turned every ounce of that pressure into potential. I knew exactly what I was doing. I hid you long enough to ensure that when you emerge, nothing will be able to stop the bloom I placed within you. There's a depth in you now that can't be shaken by applause or abandoned by silence. Your growth doesn't depend on being seen, it depends on remaining connected to me. And you stayed. Even when it was painful. Even when the dirt felt suffocating. Even when you questioned if you'd ever see light again, you remained rooted in faith. And because of that, I'm causing fruit to burst forth in areas where people thought your influence had ended. The ones who walked away will have to watch what I've cultivated in secret rise with beauty, with impact, with strength that couldn't have come from comfort. I didn't need you to prove anything, I just needed you to trust me underground. I know how deep it got. I know how silent it became. But I also know what's growing now is unstoppable. I'm not bringing you back the same, I'm raising you as someone who can withstand storms and still shine. You're not coming forth weak or weary, you're rising steady and sure, not with the same wounds but with healed skin and holy confidence. You were pressed but not broken. You were cut but not destroyed. You were tested but not defeated. And now, what's coming from you is legacy, not fleeting impact, but generational shift. I've anointed you not just to rise, but to flourish, to build, to bless, to carry my presence in places no one else can reach. I trusted you with the depth so I could trust you with the heights. And now, the unveiling begins, not to prove your worth to people, but to demonstrate my faithfulness through your life. What you thought was the end was only the beginning of something incorruptible. My child, you are about to rise not as a survivor but as a sign of my power. The very soil that tried to silence you will now serve as the platform beneath your promise. You are no longer hidden for survival, you are emerging for impact. And no force can reverse what I've planted with my own hands. You've walked through rooms where your presence was tolerated but never embraced, where your name was mentioned but never honored, where your gifts were used but never celebrated. I watched you give your best when others gave you their indifference. I saw you pour yourself out for people who couldn't recognize the treasure they were standing beside. But I never needed their approval to confirm your significance. Before a single soul had an opinion about your identity, I established your worth in the most permanent ink heaven has ever known, my own sacrifice. I didn't whisper your value, I declared it by stretching my arms on that wooden frame and purchasing your life with the costliest currency in existence. Their silence didn't decrease your beauty. Their rejection didn't reduce your radiance. You were never created to fit into their limited boxes or confined expectations. I didn't design you for their shallow applause, I designed you for eternal purpose. And that purpose wasn't shaken by their inability to perceive it. I did give them the authority to define what I crafted with divine intention. You are not a mistake. You are not excessive. You are not too much or not enough, you are precisely as I intended, carrying layers of depth, power, gentleness, and boldness that reflect facets of my heart this world desperately needs to witness. I placed rare oil in your spirit that many will not recognize at first, but the time is coming where the fragrance will be impossible to ignore. You've been misjudged because of your quiet strength. You've been dismissed because you chose depth over display. But that wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. You didn't strive to prove your worth because somewhere deep inside, you knew I had already spoken over you. Mine. Precious. Chosen. And that word is still active, still alive, still standing. It will never expire. They may have walked past you, but I have been walking beside you. They may have doubted you, but I have been championing you. You didn't need a spotlight, you needed endurance. And you've shown it. You didn't collapse under pressure. You rose silently, steadily, in the unseen places where true greatness is forged. And now, because you kept showing up without applause, I am exalting you in ways that no man can block. Your value was never meant to be understood by everyone, it was meant to be revealed by me. I placed you in places of obscurity, not to punish you, but to preserve the treasure within you. They weren't qualified to see it, but I always saw it. I see how you keep showing love even when it's not returned. I see how you continue to believe in people even when they fail to see your heart. And I see the tiredness in your soul from giving so much without receiving what you deserve. But I want you to know, I've been keeping track, and I will not allow your labor to go unrewarded. I'm stepping in to restore what they overlooked. I'm placing value back where it was stripped away. I'm speaking truth over the lies that tried to make you feel like your best would never be enough. I'm healing the wounds that came not from strangers, but from those you trusted. This next season is not about proving your worth, it's about walking in it. You will no longer explain yourself to those who never saw you. You will no longer shrink to be accepted. I am expanding your territory, not for attention, but for influence. What you carry must be released now, not buried beneath doubt or wrapped in insecurity, but displayed with confidence rooted in me. You are not who they said you were. You are who I died to redeem. And I do not make worthless things. I do not call average what I bled to rescue. So stand tall, not because you feel ready, but because I have already made you worthy. Let the world underestimate you if it must. I will elevate you in such a way that no one will question why you were chosen. They'll know. It was never man's doing. It was mine. You weren't picked by their systems, but I chose you from eternity. They may have scrolled past your name, skipped your story, ignored your presence, but I set my seal on you long before anyone had a vote. My selection wasn't based on your popularity, position, or platform. It was based on my love for you, a love that cannot be altered by time, public opinion, or personal failure. I did not need the world's agreement to affirm what I have spoken over you. While they looked for polished appearances and familiar resumes, I looked for heart yours. When you walked through doors that didn't open, you assumed you were disqualified, but what you didn't realize was that I had already rerouted you to a higher path. They dismissed what they didn't understand, and you blamed yourself for their blindness. But I never needed them to notice you in order to raise you. You were not designed to be everyone's choice. You were designed to be mine. I didn't consult their expectations before writing your calling. They rejected what didn't fit into their limited framework, but I rejoiced over what I had uniquely placed inside of you. While they saw complication, I saw commission. While they saw convenience, I saw anointing. Your journey has not been overlooked by me. On the contrary, I've been carefully walking beside you, step by step, shielding what they tried to trample. You've been carrying oil they weren't ready for. You've been walking with wisdom they couldn't recognize. You've been holding peace in atmospheres that didn't understand how you could remain unshaken, and the reason is simple. You are mine. I carved out a space in my purpose that only you could fill. I didn't call you to blend in. I called you to rise above the noise, the trends, the ever-shifting demands of people who never saw your heart. What they discarded was my masterpiece. What they criticized was my craftsmanship. You were never meant to gain their acceptance. You were meant to carry my presence. And my presence will go with you into places that once closed their gates. You will walk into rooms not because you conformed, but because you remain true to what I placed within you. I honor the ones the world misjudges. I crown the ones who refuse to compromise. I elevate the ones who stayed surrendered when no one was applauding. You didn't retaliate. You didn't try to fit in. You didn't silence your uniqueness just to be liked. And because of that, I'm putting my hand under your feet and lifting you up where no one can take credit for your ascent. This is not a rise for show, it is a rise for purpose. Your authenticity will make space for others to be free. Your obedience will awaken others from imitation. Your scars will preach louder than polished speeches. And I will be the one confirming every step. I know the pain of being misunderstood. I know what it feels like to be unwanted by crowds yet chosen by the Father. That's why I walk with you so closely, because I know how it feels to be chosen and crushed in the same breath. But you endured. You kept your heart soft. You kept your eyes on me. And now, I am rewarding you with authority, not based on man's hierarchy, but on heaven's decree. I didn't just rescue you, I called you. I didn't just heal you, I anointed you. I didn't just comfort you, I commissioned you. They didn't see it, but I never took my eyes off of you. Even when you doubted your place, I was holding your identity steady. You were never lost in the crowd. You were never just another name in the background. You are my chosen vessel, set apart, shaped by fire, formed in hiddenness, and now released in boldness. The mantle I placed on you is not borrowed, it is yours. Walk in it. Don't shrink to make others comfortable. Don't apologize for your fire. Don't wait for validation from those I never assigned to understand you. My choosing is final. My calling is sure. And my hand is on you not for a moment, but for a mission that only you can fulfill. You've stood before entrances that seemed impenetrable, praying with hope yet watching them remain still, unmoved, sealed, cold. You knocked until your knuckles bled and still nothing shifted. I watched as you waited, as you fasted, as you kept your faith alive in rooms where it felt like opportunity ignored you. But I need you to understand those weren't missed chances. They were protected moments. I never allowed access because the timing wasn't mature, and the environment wasn't pure. Not every opportunity is a blessing. Some more traps dressed in temporary applause. And because I love you too deeply to allow counterfeit success to contaminate your purpose, I held back what you thought was right so I could release what is truly yours. But now, the delay has completed its assignment. What was locked due to misalignment is now being touched by my authority. I am turning the latch myself. What no strategy, no connection, no effort could make possible, I am doing it now with one movement of my hand. You don't need to force this. You won't have to beg or explain. What's opening next will open effortlessly, undeniably, and unmistakably because I authored it. This won't be a half shift or a partial change, this will be a floodgate. Where you once stood feeling denied, you will now walk boldly into access that carries my seal. You will not knock this time, the gate will respond before your hand even reaches for it. You're stepping into a space where my favor moves faster than human plans. The places that didn't return your calls, the roles that didn't recognize your qualifications, the paths that seemed to vanish when you tried to step forward, watch as they now unfold under your feet like prepared ground. My hand is opening doors that don't just fit your desires, they match your design. No more squeezing into tight spaces to feel relevant. I'm expanding the frame so that you can walk in carrying everything I gave you, unmuted, unhindered, unashamed. What's waiting on the other side isn't just a position, it's a platform for impact, for legacy, for kingdom expression. And no one will be able to say it happened by coincidence. It will be evident that only my hand could have orchestrated such access. You've been faithful in the silent fields. You served with no reward. You've remained when others shifted, and I took note of every moment. I'm not opening these doors just to change your scenery, I'm opening them to elevate your reach. Where once your voice felt silenced, now it will echo. Where your gift was hidden, now it will be magnified, but not for your glory. For mine. I'm not doing this because you demanded it, I'm doing this because you carried obedience like a crown, even when it was heavy. Now, the season of closed places is over. No man will be able to bar what I have commanded to release. No barrier will hold back what I've marked for movement. You will not chase doors, they will meet you. You will not twist keys, they will yield at my command. And when they do, you'll realize they were never stuck, they were waiting for my signal. This moment is sacred, because what opens now won't close again. It will remain accessible, sustainable, and protected. Not just any door, my door. And with it comes peace, provision, and purpose aligned. You will walk in and not feel out of place. You will move forward and not look back with regret. The chapter ahead doesn't start with struggle, it begins with supernatural access. So lift your head, straighten your back, prepare your heart. The weight didn't cancel the promise, it preserved it. And now, I'm placing your hand on a door I've already unlocked. Walk through it, my child, not in fear, but in confidence. I have made the way, and what I open no one can shut. The attempts to tarnish your identity, to dim the light within you, to reduce your story into something ordinary, none of it succeeded in my eyes. They tried to label you by your losses, define you by your detours, measure you by moments of weakness, but I never changed my view of you. I saw the lies that were spoken behind your back, the misunderstandings that followed you like shadows, the efforts made to discredit your intentions and dismantle your progress. But none of it had the power to rewrite what I declared over you from the beginning. Now, I am rising in your story not just to defend you, but to renew you. Where your name was associated with struggle, I'm restoring its honor. Where people attached gossip to your presence, I'm attaching my glory. Your reputation doesn't need to be cleared by them, it's being covered by me. I am the God who not only redeems situations, I redeem legacies. They tried to define you by a chapter you've already healed from, but I'm placing my hand on your identity and rewriting how they remember you. You will no longer be known by what broke you, you will be known by the beauty that rose from what couldn't destroy you. The ridicule, the suspicion, the silence you endured, it all attempted to bury the truth of who you are. But I've been preserving your essence behind the scenes, waiting for the exact moment to shine light on what they tried to bury in darkness. Your name is not tied to shame, it's tied to promise. And I am lifting that name back into view, not to glorify your pain, but to reveal my power in how I carried you through it. What was stolen from you, be it peace, clarity, position, time, relationships, or opportunities, is not lost beyond repair. I am not just giving back what was taken. I am restoring with interest. What the enemy tried to reduce to ashes, I am raising into evidence of my faithfulness. I've seen where the enemy crept in subtly, draining your joy, stealing your sleep, robbing your sense of direction. I've seen how he twisted narratives and exploited moments to make you question your own heart. But no more. I'm stepping into the ruins and breathing new structure where there was once collapse. I'm not using new materials, I'm rebuilding with what you thought was useless. The fragments are becoming foundations. The dust is becoming strength. What felt like debris in your hands is actually raw material in mine. You will not walk through life as one who barely made it, you will walk as one who overcame through divine rebuilding. Your scars won't signal defeat. They will signify restoration. I don't need to erase what happened to show the beauty of your journey. I will transform it into the proof that nothing is wasted in my kingdom. And that spark inside you, the one that used to burn so brightly, the passion that once fueled your dreams but now feels like embers, I'm breathing on it right now. The flame they tried to snuff out with ridicule, comparison, betrayal, and fatigue is not dead. It is flickering, and I am fanning it with my breath. I am reigniting your inner fire, not with old ambition, but with fresh purpose. You won't move forward with the same motives, you'll move forward with divine clarity. You'll no longer feel drained by trying to prove yourself, you'll feel alive in simply being who I made you to be. The dreams that felt delayed are not discarded. The vision that became blurry is not abandoned. I'm igniting again, not the copy of what once was, but the evolved version that only now can emerge. What was once dimmed by disappointment is becoming radiant with revelation. You are not going backward, you are stepping into something deeper, truer, purer. I am the one who restores, rebuilds, and rekindles, and I am doing all three in you, right now. The voices that have crept into your thoughts, those quiet, lingering tones that question your worth, mock your progress, and predict your downfall, those are not from me. Fear has dressed itself as caution. Doubt has disguised itself as reason. But none of it carries my signature. I am not the author of anxiety, hesitation, or panic. I don't speak in trembles or threats, I speak in truth, in peace, in fire that silences every lie. You've entertained the idea that maybe you aren't enough, that perhaps you've already missed it, that somehow the weight you carry is proof that your future has been diminished. But those suggestions are not divine, they are designed to derail you. You've heard them so long they all have started sounding like your own thoughts, but I'm exposing their origin now. Those were never planted by my spirit. They were forged in fear, watered by weariness, and spoken into your ear by forces that tremble at the sight of what's coming for you. I am not asking you to wrestle with these lies, I'm asking you to reject them. Cast them out. Evict them from the house of your mind. Because I am busy crafting your story, and fear has no seat at this table. You assumed the delay meant disapproval. You assumed the silence meant distance. But I have not withdrawn my presence, I've been rewriting your narrative with my own hand. And the ink I use is not erasable, is not tentative. It does not fade under pressure. Is favor pure, unstoppable, sovereign favor. It writes beyond your weakness, beyond your resume, beyond what people expected of you. I'm not editing your past, I'm illuminating your future. I'm composing lawns of redemption that no critic can cancel. What I've begun, no power can revoke. The chapters ahead aren't stained by the pain you endured, they are charged with the power you gained from it. You thought your story was closing in, but I'm extending the scroll. You thought the narrative was winding down, but I've just turned the page. What fear told you was the conclusion. I am proving to be the introduction to your greatest unveiling. You don't need the approval of those who walked away. You don't need confirmation from people who couldn't see beyond your current circumstance. What you need, what you already have, is my voice, speaking louder than the internal storms. I am not echoing the world's commentary over your life. I am declaring something new. This one belongs to me. This one carries my name. This one is stepping into chapters written by heaven. The opposition you faced was not a sign to stop, it was a clue that what I'm about to do through you carries weight. And no one attacks what isn't valuable. And no one tries to silence what isn't speaking truth. You are a threat to darkness, even on your quietest days. You're dangerous to every lie the enemy has spoken over others. That's why fear came hard. That's why doubt crept in. But now, I'm reminding you of who you really are, loved, called, sustained, unshaken. And I'm taking my pen and writing the next parts with acceleration. This favor is not fragile. It doesn't depend on who likes you, who chooses you, or who recognizes your effort. It comes from a place no human can access. It surrounds you like a covering, goes before you like a gate opener, and walks behind you like a shield. It is not seasonal, it is covenant. And it's being poured out in this moment like fresh oil. Watch how quickly things begin to shift. Watch how circumstances bow to my word. What you were afraid would never change will begin transforming in front of you, not because of pressure, but because of presence. My favor will speak when you're quiet. It will make way when you feel stuck. It will increase when others pull back. You don't have to chase it. You just have to stay aligned with me. So silence the inner noise. Turn away from what fear has built in your imagination. I'm giving you a new vision, one built not on assumptions, but on assurance. I'm writing now. I'm moving now. I'm favoring you now. And the story unfolding is far more glorious than what fear tried to predict. You've wandered through moments where the road seemed hidden, where every direction felt equally uncertain, and where choices became heavy because clarity seemed just out of reach. You searched for confirmation but found only silence. You asked for direction but were surrounded by fog. It felt as though each path was coated in layers of uncertainty, and no matter how much you prayed, no door felt fully open. But I was never absent in those moments. I was protecting you from moving before the time was right. You thought I was delaying clarity, but I was guarding you from making decisions based on incomplete vision. I needed you to pause so that I could clear the air, quiet the distractions, and speak with unmistakable precision. And now, that moment has come. What once felt like walking through mist will suddenly feel like stepping into morning light. I am shining my truth across what once looked complicated. The answers you've been asking me for about where to go, who to trust, what to pursue are beginning to form with undeniable peace. You won't feel frantic anymore. You won't have to force understanding or second-guess every move. My wisdom is beginning to fill your heart like a steady stream, washing away the anxiety and noise that once drowned out my whisper. I'm showing you that direction is not always loud, it's often quiet, but sure. I've been shaping your discernment in the silence. I've been training your eyes to see beyond appearances and your ears to hear beyond words. I was developing your ability to recognize my prompting, not just rely on signs. And because you've remained in the place of waiting, not rushing ahead when others pushed forward, I am now releasing revelation that others bypassed. You're going to start recognizing what was never meant for you, and it won't feel like loss. It will feel like freedom. The people, opportunities, environments, and dreams that once held weight but no peace will begin to release their grip. I am not calling you to what's popular, I'm calling you to what's pure. And you will know the difference because peace will be your compass. You won't walk into this next season with confusion hanging over your head like a storm cloud. My word will go before you like a torch in the night, illuminating only what matters. You don't need to see the entire journey, I just need you to follow what I'm lighting up right now. Step by step, I'm guiding you not through chaos, but through calm assurance that you're no longer wandering. You're being led. Let go of the pressure to make perfect choices. I never asked you to be flawless, I only asked you to remain close. The more you draw near, the more clear it becomes. You'll start to realize that the answers were never far, they were simply being preserved until your heart was ready to carry them without distortion. And now that the clutter is falling away, My voice will sound louder than the doubts that once competed for your focus. No more guessing. No more restless overthinking. No more decision paralysis. I am stabilizing your perspective, anchoring your thoughts in me, and pulling back the veil from what the enemy tried to keep hidden. Watch as connections suddenly make sense. Conversations will carry more weight. Moments that used to feel confusing will start revealing their purpose. I'm unlocking understanding in places where you only had questions before. My light is not harsh, it is healing. It doesn't expose to shame, it reveals to realign. I'm not just helping you see where to go. I'm helping you understand why the delay was necessary. And as your insight increases, so will your confidence, not in yourself but in me. You'll stop wondering if you're making the wrong move, because my spirit will confirm what's right with unmistakable peace. So don't be afraid to move forward now. You are no longer walking in circles. You are walking in rhythm with heaven. And every step you take under my guidance will bring you closer to what you were made for. The haze is lifting. The shadows are breaking. And my light is falling directly on the path you once feared. Keep your eyes on me, I'll make the next step unmistakably clear. There were things that looked promising, people who seemed sincere, and paths that felt right in the beginning, but deep beneath the surface, they were not what I intended for you. You were drawn in by what appeared to be an answer, but it was only a shadow of what I had in store. I let it stand for a season, not because it was your future, but because it would help you discern the difference between what merely looks good and what carries my breath. The counterfeit never comes looking like danger, it comes wrapped in beauty, in timing that feels perfect, in words that echo what your heart longs to hear. But I never wanted you to be deceived by imitations. I wanted you to be strengthened by wisdom. And so I allowed certain things to unravel, certain people to walk away, certain doors to close, not to punish you but to protect the space where my fullness is meant to dwell. You grieve some of those losses. You questioned why something that felt right turned so wrong. You wondered how you could be so sure about something and still be left with nothing. But I was working through every disconnection. I was interrupting what would have intercepted your destiny. What I remove, I replace with something real. I do not take without purpose. I do not subtract without intention. The removal was a rescue. I had to pull you away from what would have drained you in the long term. I saw the agendas hidden behind the compliments. I saw the compromise concealed behind charisma. I saw the chains behind what you mistook as connection. And because you are mine, I intervened. I disrupted what you didn't yet have the strength to walk away from. You may feel like you've lost something valuable, but what I'm about to release is sacred. What I'm preparing for you carries no hidden motives, no secret costs, no emotional manipulation. What's divine doesn't need to be forced, it flows in harmony with my spirit. You'll recognize it by the way your soul breathes again, by the clarity in your thoughts, by the consistency in your peace. What I'm making room for doesn't compete for your attention, it aligns with your calling. It doesn't drain you, it fuels you. It doesn't pull you off course, it walks beside you in truth. That's how you'll know it's from me. I will never lead you into something that costs you your joy, your discernment, or your devotion. You've matured through the process. You're no longer enticed by temporary satisfaction. You're no longer moved by what flatters your emotions. You've grown to crave what anchors your spirit. That hunger is from me. I've been shaping your appetite so that you'll no longer accept less than what I died to give you. I'm not giving you back the same type of connections, the same kind of chances, the same level of doors. I'm raising the standard not to make your life harder, but to elevate your environment to match what I've built inside of you. You're not going to see the same patterns repeat because I've broken the cycles. You're not going to fall into the same traps because I've trained your eyes to see beyond the surface. I'm positioning you now to receive what's pure, what's right, what's been hidden until the right moment arrived. The counterfeit had to be cleared so covenant could come in. The noise had to be silenced so you could hear what I've been saying all along. You are worthy of what is whole. You are ready for what is real. I'm not just giving you good things, I'm giving you God things. assignments that carry eternal weight, relationships that reflect my love, not just fill your time, resources that multiply, not manipulate, peace that stays, not vanishes. And it's coming not because you fought for it, but because you surrendered what was never yours to keep. Let me finish the removal so I can complete the reveal. What's next won't look like what you lost. It will look like what I promise. And this time, you'll know it's me not because of how it starts, but because of how it stays. You've endured things that words could never fully explain, deep, personal aches that tried to redefine your entire understanding of hope. There were wounds you carried so quietly that no one around you could detect how much strength it took just to keep moving. You smiled while your spirit groaned. You showed up while your heart questioned why it even mattered. You prayed through the storm but still wondered if I saw the wreckage inside you. You thought pain disqualified you, as if your hurt somehow made you unusable, unstable, unworthy. But what you didn't know is that I never distanced myself from your brokenness. I stepped deeper into it. You didn't scare me with your sadness. You didn't push me away with your tears. I walked straight into the center of it all and began writing healing into every place you tried to hide. Not with temporary comfort, but with a lasting touch that would turn your darkest night into a doorway of power. The ache that made you question your future is becoming the very evidence that I never let go of you. You see, I'm not trying to erase your past. I'm transforming it into the stage where my faithfulness can be seen in ways no story of ease could ever display. Anyone can talk about miracles, but few can carry them in their scars. And you, my child, are about to carry healing not as a memory but as a mantle. The places where you bled will become places where others find balm. I'm redeeming the exact areas that tried to convince you nothing good could ever rise again. That betrayal you experienced, it's becoming a foundation of wisdom that can't be shaken. That heartbreak you thought would finish you, it's becoming a wellspring of compassion for others drowning in silence. That despair that wrapped around your chest like a vice, it's now the very cavity into which I'm pouring fresh breath. Your pain is not being wasted, it is being repurposed into holy strength. I didn't cause the hurt, but I'm reclaiming its outcome. What tried to destroy your trust is now awakening your discernment. What tried to steal your voice is now making your words sharper, deeper, more anchored in truth. You were never being broken just to suffer, you were being rebuilt for greater sensitivity, not to your own weakness, but to the needs of others. You won't have to pretend it didn't happen. You won't have to deny the tears or disguise the journey. Your transparency will become someone else's breakthrough. And you will speak from a place of power that can only come from surviving what should have taken you out. That's how I work. I don't just fix what's fractured, I fill it with purpose. I don't just restore what was lost, I multiply it into legacy. What seemed like an ending was the birthplace of your divine commissioning. Don't despise what you had to walk through. Don't curse the chapter you barely made it through. Instead, watch how I anoint the very memory that once brought you shame. Watch how I use the exact moment of collapse as the backdrop for resurrection. You are not a victim of what happened, you are a carrier of what I did with it. Your healing isn't just internal. It's generational. It's contagious. It's transformational. You'll speak and atmospheres will shift not because you rehearsed the right words, but because you've walked with me through the valley and emerged with the oil of understanding. And no one will be able to deny what I've done. You won't have to prove it, it will radiate from you. Your very presence will carry peace that makes chaos retreat. So stop hiding the parts of your life that hurt. I'm not ashamed of your story, and you don't need to be either. I'm turning the pain into proof. Not the kind that glorifies the suffering, but the kind that magnifies the victory. You are walking into a season where everything that once seemed like a wound will become a window. Not into who you used to be, but into who I've shaped you to become. You are healed. You are whole. You are walking evidence of what my love can do when nothing else could help. And this is only the beginning of how I'll use your story to breathe life into others. You have carried so much alone, haven't you? Not by choice, but by necessity. You've watched others have support while you were left to navigate your battles in solitude. You've had to encourage yourself when no one else noticed your silent cries. You've learned how to stand even when your legs shook, how to move forward when your heart was bleeding, how to show strength when you were collapsing on the inside. And through it all, you kept trusting me. You didn't shut your heart off. You didn't harden your spirit. You didn't let loneliness destroy your ability to love. I've seen how you've guarded your hope, how you've waited without growing bitter, how you've remained open to my timing even when it would have been easier to walk away. And because of that, I am now bringing alignment into your life in a way that will feel like fresh wind to your lungs. You've prayed for companionship, not just someone to walk beside you, but someone who could see the weight you carry and not be intimidated by it. You've longed for a presence that wouldn't drain you but strengthen you, that wouldn't question your sensitivity but respect your depth. You've asked for connection that felt divine, not forced. And I've heard every request. I've studied your heart, not your performance, not your preferences, but your purity. And I've been crafting someone whose heart can carry what yours cannot always express. Someone whose loyalty is born from submission to me. Someone who doesn't compete with your purpose but complements it. This is not about filling a gap of loneliness. This is about sending reinforcement for the race that still lies ahead. What I'm preparing isn't based on superficial appeal, it's based on divine synchronization. They won't be perfect, but they'll be chosen. They won't solve every challenge, but they'll stand when others would flee. You won't have to chase them, to press them, or pretend with them. Their presence will feel like peace, not pressure. You won't lose your voice when they arrive, you'll find greater strength in it. They'll speak life into you without even trying. They'll understand without you explaining. Their spirit will respond to what I've placed inside you, not because of compatibility tests or surface chemistry, but because their steps were ordained to collide with yours in the timeline I've designed. You thought you had to do this journey entirely alone, but that was never my plan. I allowed the solitude for a season so you could learn the sound of my voice before you ever depended on another's. I allowed the stillness so your identity would be rooted in me, not in external validation. But now, because your foundation is solid, I can entrust you with the kind of connection that builds rather than breaks. And it's not just one relationship, it's a network, a gathering, a circle of strength that I'm assembling around you. People who won't just celebrate your mountaintops but sit with you in the in-between. People who won't just watch you rise but will hold you up when your arms grow tired. I am sending you people who carry assignments that match the gravity of your purpose. People who understand the cost of your calling. People who hear what others miss, who feel what others overlook, who will walk with you not because of what you offer but because of who you are. And they won't slow you down, they'll help you run. They'll pace with you, pay with you, put with you. You won't be drained by their presence, you'll be empowered. I never intended for you to run this race gasping for support. I have assigned help, and that help is on its way. So don't close your heart out of past disappointment. Don't assume the silence means you're forgotten. I am a father who provides not only for your needs, but also for your connections. I'm sending people who won't just walk into your life, they'll carry my presence into your story. They won't try to fix you, they'll run beside you while I complete what I've begun in you. And together, you will move faster, higher, stronger, not as one, but as many, joined by my spirit, running the race set before you with endurance and joy. What looked like a conclusion to you was only a pause in my story. You saw the closed doors, the unmet expectations, the relationships that faded, the silence that followed your most courageous steps, and you assumed the end had come. You stood in the aftermath of disappointment, staring at the pieces of your shattered plan, wondering if anything meaningful could ever rise from the ruins. You whispered to me, "Is this all there is?" But I never echoed that thought. I never confirmed your fear. I saw beyond the scene that broke you. I saw a canvas that was still wet with potential, still alive with color, still open to my brush. I never stopped painting. I never left the easel. The mess that looked like failure was simply the background being prepared for something far more vibrant than you ever anticipated. You assumed that season was final. You mistook delay as closure. You believed the ending others declared over you. But I am the author of life, and I never hand the pen to pain. I never let circumstances write your final lines. You may have reached a full stop, but I am turning the page. My story for you is still in motion, and what's coming next will not resemble what's come before. I specialize in plot twists that don't make sense until later. I allow pauses to recalibrate your heart. I allow disruption to dismantle what you settled for. And now, I'm gathering every unfinished sentence, every stifled dream, every stilled heartbeat, and I am breathing fresh direction into all of it. What you thought was a collapse was actually a sacred redirection. You're not behind. You're not stuck. You're not disqualified. You are right on schedule for a divine unveiling. I'm not rewriting your life to erase the past. I'm weaving every chapter into a purpose so intentional that even your most confusing days will make sense in hindsight. The heartbreak, it's becoming a bridge. The betrayal, it's turning into a revelation. The setback, it's being carved into the soil of something permanent. You are not circling failure, you are rising from foundation. I am not repeating the old. I'm constructing the new. And this construction doesn't begin with external success, it begins with internal shift I've been nurturing in Seeker. That new perspective, that unshakable resilience, a deeper empathy. All of it was grown during the moments you called wasted. But nothing I touch is ever wasted. Let me be clear, I haven't finished with you. Not even close. You haven't seen your greatest impact. You haven't lived your fullest expression. You haven't touched the deepest places I've created within you. There is still more. And this next part is not built on performance, it's rooted in revelation. You will no longer strive to make things happen. You will walk in alignment and watch me open the way. No more chasing shadow. No more reaching for broken promises. I'm placing something in your hands that will not fall apart. I'm speaking dreams into you that you had long buried, the kind you were too tired to resurrect. But I'm reaching into the grave of forgotten purpose and pulling out something glorious. This masterpiece I'm unfolding doesn't rush. It breathes. It flows. It unfolds according to eternal rhythm, not earthly demand. And you'll see that what I'm building isn't for applause, it's for impact. Your story is going to unlock doors for people you've never met. Your process is going to free those who have been stuck in silence. I didn't let you walk through fire for nothing, I let you walk through it so you could carry flame. And now, that fire will be your testimony. Love pain above power, not of grief but of grace. I'm not done with you, child. I'm only just beginning. So look ahead, not back. Lift your eyes not with fear, but with fierce expectation. You thought the end had arrived, but this is just the start of something eternal, beautiful, and unstoppable. My hand is still writing. My plan is still unfolding. And you, my beloved, are still the center of what I'm creating. You questioned me when things didn't move at the pace you expected. You measured progress by the ticking of clocks and the changing of seasons, assuming that because others advanced while you remained still, something must have gone wrong. But what you called delay, I called design. What felt like stagnation to you was actually a sacred pause I orchestrated to align what you could not see. I wasn't ignoring your prayers, I was weaving your purpose through divine intersections, unseen preparations, and strategic adjustments. Time, in your hands, causes pressure. Time, in mine, causes precision. I was never late, and you were never forgotten. I was not withholding blessings, I was anchoring the foundation so that when they came, they wouldn't break you. You prayed for answers. I answered with stillness. You asked for movement. I gave you maturity. Because what I have for you required more than talent, it requires depth. More than passion, it requires discernment. And more than speed, it requires surrender. You see, if I had given you what you asked for when you first asked, it would have grown roots in the soil of fear, insecurity, or exhaustion. What I waited for the moment your heart could carry the weight of what I was about to release without collapsing under it. I waited until you stopped comparing yourself to others. until your identity was no longer tied to results, until your trust in me outweighed your need to understand every detail. Because I don't just answer with outcomes, I answer with wholeness. Now, the layers of delay are beginning to peel back, and you will see what I was constructing all along. The connections that once made no sense will begin to interlock like puzzle pieces. The encounters you thought were random will be revealed as divine appointments. The silence you resented will now be seen as the shelter that protected you from premature exposure. I did not overlook you, I covered you. I did not bypass you, I preserved you. I was setting the stage so that when your moment arrived, it would be unmistakable that only I could have arranged it. Not by chance, not by effort, but by grace alone. You are not behind. You are right on the edge of manifestation. The time that felt stolen is about to be restored in multiplication. I don't just give you what you thought you lost, I give you more than what you imagined. And when I do it, there will be no striving. There will be no struggle to hold it in place. What I establish cannot be shaken. I'm not rebuilding with old bricks, I'm laying new foundation with everlasting stone. What comes next won't be fast for the sake of speed, it will be full because of preparation. You're not getting leftovers. You're receiving abundance. And when it happens, when doors begin to open one after another, when favor surrounds you like a shield, when prayers you forgot you prayed begin to surface with answers attached, there will be no doubt. You will look back at the nights you wept, at the hours you waited, and you'll say, now I understand. You'll realize why I allowed certain things to fall apart, why I closed that path, why I let people exit your story. It was all mercy. It was all strategy. It was all for what's coming now. So don't mourn the lost years, I'm redeeming them. Don't regret the quiet seasons, I'm turning them into fuel for your future. Don't carry resentment for the pace of my process, I'm about to flood your life with proof that my pace was perfect. I saw the entire picture while you only held a corner of the canvas. And now that the time has come, my power will fill every area that once felt empty. My presence will pour into places where you once questioned my nearness. And my favor will rush in like a tide that cannot be turned back. Child, trust my rhythm. Rest in my wisdom. Rejoice in the reality that I never stopped working, not for a moment. This is not a restart. This is not recovery. This is the divine unveiling of what I was always building. And now that it's time, there will be no stopping what I've set into motion. Everything is about to make sense, and it will be beautiful. You didn't just go through a season of loneliness, you walked through an environment I allowed to become quiet so you could hear me without interference. There were days you begged for someone to understand you, to notice the weight you were carrying behind your strength, to recognize the sacrifices you kept making without any return. But I pulled you away not to break you, but to refine what I had placed within you. Not everyone was equipped to walk beside you during that stretch of your journey, because what I was building in you required space, silence, and separation. You saw people drift. You saw circles shrink. You saw celebrations happen without your name included. But I never left. I never turned my face from you. In fact, I was closer than ever, tending to the places within you that only isolation can touch. Some assignments are cultivated in crowds, but others like yours are developed in caves. A time where no one called, where invitations stopped coming, where conversations became rare. That wasn't neglect. That was my protection. I couldn't allow you to be distracted by voices that would dilute your focus. I couldn't risk the vision I gave you becoming contaminated by opinions that weren't anointed to shape it. You weren't overlooked, you were being hidden. Hidden from attacks that your spirit wasn't meant to battle yet. Hidden from temptations that would have looked attractive but pulled you off course. Hidden from the noise of comparison so your inner hearing could become sensitive to my direction. I didn't isolate you to injure you, I isolated you to incubate something powerful. And now, what has been forming in the secret place is reaching its moment of unveiling. What was once misunderstood will now become a message. What felt like silence will become substance. I have instilled treasures within you that couldn't have been mined in public. Revelation that couldn't have been grasped in shallow waters. endurance that couldn't have been learned through applause. I trained you in private for something holy. And now, I will bring forth from within you what couldn't have grown in crowded spaces. You don't realize it yet, but the silence taught you to see. It taught you to discern motives, to listen past the noise, to recognize real from imitation. You've been prepared to lead not by force but by presence, not by striving but by authenticity. I was shaping your responses, strengthening your boundaries, teaching you how to move when no one clapped, how to give when nothing was returned, how to believe when nothing around you confirmed the promise. And though you may have felt abandoned, you were actually being chosen again and again for deeper things. Things that require spiritual stamina. Things that demand maturity. Things that only grow where the soil has been tested. Others may try to mimic your outcome, but they will be able to carry your capacity because they haven't walked your path. That's why I had to separate you. That's why I couldn't let everyone understand you. Because what I've birthed in you is weighty. And not everyone can walk beside weight. They want the blessing without the burden. But you, my child, didn't run from it. You embraced it. You wept through it. You surrendered to it even when it didn't make sense. And now, the shift begins. The time of hiding is ending. The time of release is here. But you're not emerging as who you were before the silence. You're rising with clarity, with oil, with fire in your spirit and steel in your spine. You're not here to be seen, you're here to set atmospheres, to walk into places and cause change simply by existing in alignment with me. Your voice has weight because it was forged in surrender. Your presence has authority because it was shaped in obedience. You don't need to explain your story. The fruit will speak. The oil will flow. And the same people who didn't understand your absence will be amazed by what you carry now. This was never punishment. This was holy preparation. And you are ready. You never imagined that the very space which drained you, the environment that pushed you to your limits, the season that made you question your worth would become the ground where I pour out the promise. But I want you to know this. I'm not just delivering you from that place. I'm transforming that place itself. I don't discard broken spaces, I rebuild them as altars. The tears you cried there didn't disappear into the ground, they became seeds that now demand a harvest. I saw every moment where you were misunderstood. I watched how you held your composure when your heart was screaming. You didn't retaliate when you were accused. You didn't collapse when you were overlooked. You stayed. You endured. And now, what was once a valley of pain will be turned into a table of abundance. This turnaround won't be poetic, it will be prophetic. It will carry the weight of my justice and the beauty of my timing. I didn't remove you immediately because I was preparing the soil. What you thought was prolonged suffering was actually sacred tilling. I was making sure that when I lifted you, it would not just be a personal breakthrough, it would become a testimony for others still walking through similar fire. The place that brought you low will soon echo with the sound of my goodness. The very walls that once witnessed your weeping will now surround your laughter. What tried to strip you of hope is about to amplify your influence. This is not about vengeance. I'm not lifting you to humiliate anyone, I'm lifting you to show the difference between those who build their lives on shifting sand and those who build it on surrender. You made the hard choice to stay rooted in me when everything within you wanted to flee. And because of that, the fruit coming from this place will astonish even those who tried to bury you in it. I am bringing beauty out of the very soil that was used against you. I don't bypass brokenness, I turn it into brilliance. When people see you thrive in the same environment that once seemed to destroy you, they will know it was not you who orchestrated your rise, it was me. There will be no confusion. No one will be able to explain it logically. Your blessing will not look like coincidence. It will look like redemption. I am rewriting the atmosphere of that place. Where there was tension, there will be peace. Where you felt confined, you will now expand. The same setting that once brought heaviness will now carry the evidence of divine visitation. You will no longer dread what was. You will rejoice in what I've done through it. And this time, You won't carry the residue of the past, you'll carry fresh oil. This isn't a return to familiarity, it's a reclaiming of space. You'll walk through with a new mantle, a new mindset, a new voice. And the platform I'm preparing there won't be built on pride, it will be constructed through humility. You'll be honored in places that once refused to see your worth. You'll be requested in rooms that once rejected your presence. You'll be received by hearts that are finally ready to witness what I've placed inside of you. Don't be afraid to go back, not to dwell, but to display. I'm not calling you to remain in pain. I'm calling you to stand tall in the place that once tried to silence your sound. I'm using what happened there as the backdrop for the unveiling of my glory in your life. They thought you left empty, but I filled you while you were hidden. And now, when you walk back in, you won't need to announce anything. Your growth will speak. Your peace will preach. Your presence will carry evidence. They'll see it on your face, hear it in your tone, sense it in the atmosphere when you walk in. And they'll know something divine has taken place. So prepare yourself. Not for retaliation, but for restoration. Not for convict, but for completion. I am turning the place of pressure into the place of promotion. You won't have to force anything. I'm going before you, preparing the room, softening hearts, and positioning everything to align with what I've spoken. The place that tried to break you is now the place where my blessing will rest. You thought I would quiet because nothing was happening, but what you didn't realize was that my stillness was not absence, it was depth. I wasn't speaking through noise. I was speaking through knowing. Every second that felt blank was soaked in meaning you couldn't yet perceive. I didn't abandon you in the silence, I was training you to hear me without distraction. I wasn't withholding answers, I was inviting you into the kind of relationship that transcends explanation. I led you through a season where words weren't enough so you could learn to follow my presence instead of your plans. You looked for signs, but I was giving you substance. You reached for confirmation, but I was forming conviction. You were waiting for instructions, but I was writing identity. The silence wasn't me forgetting you, it was me forming you. When the noise stopped, your soul had to stretch. When the external affirmations disappeared, your inner faith had to grow. I never wanted your confidence to depend on constant feedback. I wanted your roots to grow deep, even when the surface looked still. You assumed I was delaying, but I was drawing you into a dimension of trust that could withstand any storm. You were learning how to walk with me when there were no visible steps to follow. You were being taught how to sense me when no voice echoed around you. This is the level of intimacy I created you for, not surface-level comfort, but deep, enduring union. In that quiet place, I fine-tuned your spiritual hearing. I didn't speak to your ears, I whispered to your spirit. I led you through inner shifts, realignments of your thinking, purification of your motives. While you longed for something loud, I was perfecting something lasting. And now, even the memory of that silence will become a reference point. Because the kind of discernment you now carry did come from books or sermons, it came from moments where only my presence remained. That kind of knowing can't be imitated. It doesn't fade. It doesn't fail. It becomes a compass when everything around you shakes. You learn to interpret my nudges. You learn to move when peace arrived, even without clarity. You learn to wait when peace disappeared, even when the opportunity seemed ideal. And now, I can trust you with more because your decisions are no longer based on pressure, but on presence. You don't need the loud confirmation anymore, you've developed spiritual instinct. You don't require a crowd to feel steady, you've been stabilized in solitude. And now that you've passed through that classroom of stillness, I'm going to amplify what I've placed in you. Your voice is becoming clearer not because it got louder, but because it got aligned. Others may look at your journey and ask how you became so sure, so composed, so unwavering, and you will know. It came from walking with me in the quiet. The silence taught you how to lead from rest, how to speak from revelation, how to carry light without performance. You don't have to impress anyone now, you've already been entrusted by heaven. What you carry was developed in darkness so it could shine untainted in the open. And now, I'm surrounding you with opportunities to release what's been refined. The silence was a gift. It was a furnace. A deep well that I drew from to form a foundation no storm can shake. You are now entering a season of release, not because the silence is ending, but because you've been transformed by it. My voice is not always heard in volume, it is often carried in clarity. And your clarity is increasing. You'll hear me in the middle of noise. You'll feel me in the tension of choices. You'll recognize me when others only see confusion. You've grown sensitive, not fragile, but focused. And that sensitivity will now be your strength. While others panic, you'll discern. While others rush, you'll remain. While others strive, you'll soar because my voice has become your anchor. So don't resent the silent chapters. They were the sacred ones. And now that I've formed you in the quiet, I will use you in the open. Not for recognition, but for revelation. Not for applause, but for alignment. My voice is still speaking, and you are ready to hear what others miss. There were seasons when you felt invisible, and not just to the world, but even to yourself. You questioned if you were doing something wrong, if your faith was somehow lacking, if the silence and the shadows meant you had missed your moment. But I want you to see it now as I've always seen it. I was not hiding you because you failed, I was concealing you because you were valuable. What I deposited in your spirit was not meant to be handled by careless hands or viewed through the lens of those who only see with natural eyes. I placed something rare inside of you, and rare things are never left exposed. They are hidden for protection, cultivated in secrecy, and unveiled only when their maturity demands release. I covered you not to isolate you, but to incubate the calling that was still forming. I knew that if you had stepped out too soon, the noise would have diluted your voice. I knew that if your gift had been placed on display before your roots were deep enough, applause would have replaced authenticity. You were never meant to perform for the world's approval, you were meant to carry presence. And presence cannot be rushed. I protected your anointing by limiting your exposure. I didn't allow you to be misunderstood publicly because I was still healing things privately. You didn't need a platform, you needed time and my presence. And though the waiting felt long, it was never wasted. I was developing resilience that wouldn't crumble under pressure, character that wouldn't collapse under influence, and discernment that wouldn't be swayed by popularity. You were chosen to carry something weighty, and weight always requires strength. The strength didn't come from praise, it came from process. And now, because you allowed me to keep you hidden instead of fighting to be seen, what is within you has been made whole. Not perfect, but purified. Not flawless, but focused. You stopped craving exposure because you've encountered me in secret. You stopped chasing stages because you found your purpose in surrender. And now, the purity I protected is about to become the power I release. You will step forward not as someone looking for validation, but as someone walking in assignment. What once felt like restriction will now be seen as preparation. The rooms that once seemed closed are opening not because you forced your way in, but because I finished building what needed time to grow. You are not who you were when I first drew you into that season of hiddenness. You are stronger now. Quieter but more sure. Bolder, yet more surrendered. And this new version of you doesn't need to be introduced, it will be recognized by those I've prepared to receive you. There's a clarity on you now. A purity of motive that cannot be faked. A depth of wisdom that only comes from the inner chambers where I've been speaking. And it will show not through your words alone, but through your posture, your presence, your peace. The fruit will prove what I've done behind the curtain. You will not need to defend your journey. You will not need to explain your absence. Your return will be radiant with purpose. Your presence will be marked by authenticity. I am sending you out not as a wounded servant, but as a trusted carrier of my heart. This unveiling is not for show. It's not about popularity or perception. It's about purity. What I've placed in you has not been compromised, because you let me keep it covered while the world was distracted by noise. Now, the noise will not distract you. You'll walk into chaos with calm. You'll enter confusion with clarity. You'll stand in the presence of pride and not flinch. because you've been formed by the one who resists the proud but gives grace to the humble. So don't mourn the hidden years. Don't regret the quiet. Don't question the stillness. Everything I preserved will now bear fruit. Everything I shielded will now shine. You are not behind, you were being protected. And now that the time is right, I am removing the veil not for your glory, but for mine. The purity I cultivated in secret is about to speak louder than any platform ever could. And those who have ears to hear will recognize me in you. You've been walking through days that demanded all your strength just to stand. You pressed forward even when you had nothing left to give. You made decisions while weary, gave love while empty, and showed faith while unsure. You've been surviving not because you lacked belief, but because the pressure was so intense, it forced you into a posture of constant endurance. And I honored that. I saw your effort. I covered your exhaustion. I strengthened your hands when they trembled, and I whispered to your heart when your thoughts were spiraling. You were not weak, you were brave in the middle of the battle. But now, I declare over you, the chapter of merely holding on is coming to a close. You were never meant to live in survival mode forever. It was a passage, not a place. A proving ground, not a permanent residence. I allowed it for a purpose, to show you what could be refined under pressure, what was real when everything else was removed, what remained when all comfort was stripped away. You've discovered resilience, not from theory but from experience. You've cultivated a kind of unshakable stability that can only be developed through storms. But now I am shifting you from that constant posture of defense into a flow of supernatural freedom. You are not coming out limping, you are emerging with divine momentum. This next season will not require the same type of fight. Not because you won't face challenges, but because the way you move is changing. You are stepping into a rhythm of peace, not panic. You will no longer feel like you're chasing breath, you will walk in steady release. Release from striving. Release from internal pressure. Release from the lingering fear that breakthrough is always one day too far away. I'm removing the tension that kept your shoulders tight and your spirit guarded. I'm inviting you into the pace of heaven, where results are no longer tied to exhaustion. Where you plant in joy and reap with gladness. Where you speak and see fruit, not frustration. You're not here to survive anymore, you're here to build, to create, to expand, to release what I placed inside you without the filter of fatigue. You've carried so much quietly. You've prayed for relief, not even for yourself, but so you could serve others better. And now I'm answering you in a way you didn't expect, not by fixing every external thing, but by shifting your internal position. I'm setting your soul into alignment with my rest. I'm filling your atmosphere with calm confidence. I'm surrounding you with divine assistance. You are about to notice things becoming easier, not because life is perfect, but because grace is multiplying. Provision will come differently now. Doors will open without force. Relationships will feel light again. Creativity will surge without pressure. Clarity will come without overthinking. What used to take every ounce of energy will now happen in flow, in joy, in cooperation with my spirit. Because this is not about you pushing, it's about me pouring. I am the one releasing now, and all I need from you is agreement. Agreement that you no longer have to fight for what I've already secured. Agreement that you are no longer a survivor, you are a carrier of my overflow. Even your language is changing. You will no longer speak as one constantly recovering. You'll speak as one who lives replenished. I'm healing the hidden places that were stuck in the pattern of enduring without rest. I'm removing the subtle expectation that hardship is always around the corner. I'm teaching you to breathe deeply again, not just in your lungs, but in your spirit. This is not temporary relief, it's a shift in reality. You are not stepping into a break, you are stepping into a flow. So receive it. Let the burden fall. Let the pressure melt. You're not in survival anymore, you're in release. This is the beginning of an entirely new rhythm. Not just for a week, not just for a month. This is the way forward. From effort to ease. From pressure to peace. From striving to surrender. You have crossed into divine flow, and I will parry you from here. You've been waiting for circumstances to shift, hoping that external change would finally bring internal rest. But I'm doing something deeper, something that doesn't begin with what's around you, it begins with what's inside you. I'm reaching into the places where unrest has lived for too long. I'm calming the thoughts that spin faster than your words can catch up. I'm settling the atmosphere of your inner life, not by removing all tension, but by anchoring you in a stillness that cannot be disrupted by what happens outside of you. What I'm doing now is not surface correction, it's soul renovation. I know the battles you fought in secret, the moments where your face looked composed, but your mind was racing. The nights you closed your eyes hoping for rest, only to be greeted by waves of uncertainty. The conversations you replayed over and over, trying to find peace through understanding. But I'm not giving you understanding alone, I'm giving you peace that surpasses it. You won't always know why things happened the way they did. But what I'm offering you now is far greater than answers. I'm giving you stability without needing explanation. I'm giving you confidence without requiring control. I'm placing you in a position where your internal posture is steady, even when external shifts come unexpectedly. You've tried to maintain peace by managing people, environments, tasks, and outcomes. But that kind of peace is fragile. It depends on perfection, and perfection is not where I dwell. I dwell in surrender. I live in the heart that lets go. That's where peace truly grows, in the soil of trust, not in the strategy of control. And now, I'm inviting you to let go of the weight you've carried trying to hold everything together. You weren't made to carry the pressure of keeping things from falling apart. That's my job. I'm asking you to release the burden, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I'm asking you to allow me to step into your inner world and establish peace as your foundation, not your reaction. This peace I'm giving you will not waver based on mood. It will not fluctuate based on news. It will not vanish when challenges arise. It will remain because it's being built by my hand. You won't have to wake up wondering how long it will last. You wake up wrapped in it. It will guard your decisions. It will lead your conversations. It will surround your relationships. It will silence the inner critic that's stolen your joy. You won't be driven by fear of what might go wrong. You'll be guided by the assurance that I go before you, that I stand behind you, that I live within you. You will no longer be tossed by every thought, you'll be anchored by truth. This isn't just about being calm, it's about being aligned. When peace enters your inner world, it begins to rewire everything. How you hear changes. How you react shifts. What used to offend you rolls off your back. What once triggered anxiety now meets a wall of confidence built on my faithfulness. You'll no longer brace for the worst, you'll expect what I've spoken. You'll wake up not in survival, but in anticipation. You'll walk into new spaces not with caution, but with clarity. And you'll carry this peace with you everywhere, not as something you protect, but as something that protects you. People around you will notice. Not because you're louder, but because you're lighter. You'll say less, but carry more. You'll stop rushing to prove yourself because peace doesn't shout, it stands. You won't need to respond to everything that tries to shake you, because your stillness will become your strength. That's what I'm doing now. I'm not waiting for your life to settle down to give you peace. I'm giving you peace now, so your life can align with what's already happening in your spirit. The shift starts from within, and it's already begun. So let the transformation continue. Let me finish the deep work. Let the atmosphere of your heart become the evidence of my presence. Let this be the moment where peace is no longer something you chase, it's who you become. Not because everything is easy, but because you are finally resting in me. That's where the real change lives, in the unseen, in the quiet, in the place where I am making you whole from the inside out. You've lived many moments bound by the uncertainty of outcomes, gripped by scenarios that played over and over in your thoughts until they exhausted your strength. You've walked through rooms where your body was present, but your mind was consumed with invisible battles. You've smiled in public while inwardly questioning if you could keep holding it all together. But I am stepping into the very core of what has made your heart race, what has disrupted your rhythm, and what has whispered lies in the quiet hours. Today, I am placing my peace where fear once dictated the atmosphere. Not a temporary relief, but an irreversible takeover. What used to stir panic will now encounter my presence, and it will have no choice but to retreat. Anxiety has lost its hold not because you found a method, but because you've encountered me. I do not partner with torment. I do not dwell in dread. Where I reign, there is order. Where I remain, there is stability. You have endured long enough beneath the tension of trying to predict every outcome, fearing that one wrong step would unravel what little you had left. But I am lifting that false responsibility from your shoulders. You were never meant to manage the future. It belongs to me. I am freeing your imagination from cycles of fear, unlocking your thoughts from rehearsals of disaster, and quieting the voices that demanded answers I never asked you to carry. You spent too long expecting the worst, but I am now shifting your internal compass to expect what I promised. No more living in reaction to shadows. You will walk in response to truth. No more bracing for chaos. I am teaching you to expect fulfillment. Your mind will no longer be a battlefield, it will become a sanctuary. And I'm not doing this gradually, I'm doing it now. With one word, I calm the storm. And that word has already been spoken over you: peace. Not the kind that fades when your surroundings shake. Not the kind that evaporates when new challenges arise. This peace is rooted in who I am, not what you see. That means it cannot be stolen, diluted, or reversed. You're not going to shrink under pressure anymore. You're going to expand in the face of uncertainty. My spirit within you is not fragile, it's a force. One that displaces fear, exposes deception, and brings clarity where confusion once ruled. What overwhelmed you yesterday will become your testimony today. You won't be explaining your anxiety anymore, you'll be describing your breakthrough. You'll carry a calm that doesn't make sense to those around you, and that's exactly how it should be. Because this isn't manufactured, it's divine. I'm doing a miracle in your mind. I'm resetting the default settings. The pathways that once led straight to panic are being restructured to lead to peace. Even your physical body will feel the shift. The tension in your chest, the uneasiness in your stomach, the restless nights, the drained mornings, it will all begin to lift. Because where peace takes residence, healing follows. And I'm not just healing what anxiety did, I'm redeeming the years it stole. The joy you postponed, the laughter you suppressed, the opportunities you declined because of fear, they are returning. This time, you won't miss them. You'll be ready. Not as someone who's barely coping, but as one who stands rooted in trust, anchored in my presence, clothed in unshakable confidence. I'm not asking you to pretend you're okay. I'm inviting you to live from a new reality, one where you don't have to fight to be calm, because calm is now your default. This is what I died to give you. Not just salvation for eternity, but wholeness for your present. You no longer have to bow to what once intimidated you. The very things that shook you will now recognize my authority in you and flee. Your peace will be your protection. Your stillness will be your strength. You'll stand in the middle of things that once broke you and not flinch, because I've made your spirit unshakable. This is your inheritance, and it begins now. The anxiety that tried to define your story is being removed from the narrative. From this moment on, my peace speaks louder. It walks ahead of you. It guards your thoughts. It governs your atmosphere. What made you afraid no longer holds the power to steal your focus. I'm taking back every inch anxiety tried to occupy, and I'm filling it with myself. Long before you stepped into the moment you're living right now, I was already moving on your behalf. Before the thought even formed in your heart, before the fear ever whispered its suggestion, before the battle even approached your doorstep, I was ahead of it. I didn't wait until you asked. I didn't delay until you saw the problem. I was already preparing the solution in realms you couldn't access, arranging circumstances with detail you never knew to pray for. Because I am not reactive, I am sovereign. I'm not watching things unfold, I am directing what unfolds. I don't wait for storms to rise before I act. I command peace before you even know the clouds are forming. There were traps set to delay you, but I rerouted them in silence. There were words spoken to harm you, but I dismantled their power before they ever reached your ears. There were closed doors meant to frustrate you, but I allowed them to shut so your feet would only walk through what I've ordained. You may never know the full extent of what I removed from your path, but you will walk in the evidence of my intervention. That phone call you never received, that meeting that never happened, that opportunity that vanished, none of those were accidents. They were redirections, proof that I was guarding your steps with far more precision than you could see. You don't need to understand every detour to trust the destination. You don't need to make sense of every shift to know you're still on course. I've gone ahead not to observe but to prepare. I've leveled terrain that once tripped you. I've cleared voices that once confused you. I've stabilized ground that once made you stumble. And now, the way forward may not be loud, but it will be clear. You'll feel the shift not through signs in the sky, but through sudden inner peace that confirms you are exactly where you need to be. My path is not always obvious, but it is always ordained. I've removed the chaos that was once hiding behind what looked appealing. I've silenced distractions disguised as opportunities. I've straightened what was previously bent by compromise, fear, and outside pressure. This is not the same terrain you once walked. You've grown, but so has the ground beneath you. Because I didn't just prepare you for the path, I prepared the path for you. Every step you take now will carry greater weight, not because it's heavier, but because it's holy. You're walking in territory that was contested, but now belongs to the promise. Let go of the worry that something will go wrong again. The mistakes of your past are not markers for your future. What tripped you before won't trap you this time. Because I have gone before you, even your missteps will fall into alignment. Even your delays will be redeemed. Even your hesitations will be enveloped in my mercy. The path may still twist, but the direction will never change. I'm leading you forward not with pressure, but with peace. Not with demand, but with delight. You're not being dragged into destiny, you're being drawn into fulfillment. There are doors ahead that are already open. There are hearts ahead that are already softened. There are answers ahead that are already waiting for your arrival. You won't have to break them down. You won't have to fight for access. My fingerprint is on what's next, and my signature guarantees it will not be missed. You will not be late. You will not arrive empty. What you carry has been protected, preserved, and now, the ground you're stepping onto will recognize the authority of the one who walks in my name. So lift your eyes. Don't be afraid to take the next step. You don't have to second-guess yourself anymore. I've gone ahead not just days or weeks but years. I've seen the moments you'll rejoice in, and the ones that will require your tears, and I've made provision for them all. The path is not random. It will. And it is good. What felt impossible yesterday is now unfolding without resistance, not because it got easier, but because I removed the resistance before it reached you. Walk forward now, not with hesitation, but with confidence. The path you're walking has already been blessed, and I'm waiting just ahead, smiling at how beautifully you're becoming everything I envisioned from the start. What I'm releasing into your life is not just enough for you, it's designed to touch everything connected to you. I have never called you to be a reservoir that holds quietly, but a living stream that carries what I pour into you and releases it into dry places. You didn't walk through fire just to be healed, you walked through it so that others could see what redemption truly looks like. And now, what I've been forming in the secret places is about to spill over, not just as a testimony but as transformation. Those who have been near you watching silently, wondering if your faith would last, are about to witness the evidence of my promise made real. I'm not only restoring what concerns you, I'm blessing everything under your influence. The prayers you whispered for your family while you were still waiting for your own answers, I've heard them. The people you carried on your shoulders while you could hardly lift your own head, I've seen them. I'm honoring your intercession. You chose to stay soft when bitterness could have taken root. You chose to serve others while your own heart was aching. And now, That kind of love is about to be repaid with something far greater than you imagined: multiplication. Yes, the doors will open for you, but watch what happens when you step through. It won't just be favor for you, it will be favor that flows from you. Conversations will shift because you carry clarity. Rooms will brighten because you carry light. The heaviness people feel will begin to lift simply because you've learned how to host my peace. Your breakthrough is not a moment, it's a movement. You won't stop at the surface. It will continue unfolding in waves, touching people you didn't even know were watching. What you carry will heal wounds you didn't know existed in others. Your restoration will provoke resurrection in hearts that gave up long ago. I have called you to be a catalyst, someone through whom my spirit flows freely. And you don't need to force it. You don't need to posture yourself to be noticed. The oil on your life will speak without needing explanation. The freedom you now walk in will echo into lives still shackled. The joy you carry will become contagious in places that once knew only sorrow. You will walk into places where darkness had settled comfortably, and your presence will shift the air. Not because of personality, but because of the purity I've cultivated in you. This blessing coming to you was never meant to stop with you. It's generational. It's territorial. It's contagious. The atmosphere around your life is shifting not only for your benefit, but for the benefit of those whose lives I've divinely intertwined with yours. You are a vessel, but you are also a distribution point. What I pour into you, I intend to release through you. That's why I prepared you so deeply. That's why your process seemed longer than others. Because I wasn't building for temporary blessing, I was establishing a legacy. People who once doubted you will find themselves receiving through you. People who once didn't understand your decisions will begin to ask where your strength comes from. You won't have to convince them. They will feel it. They will see it. Your life will begin to answer questions they never knew how to ask. The influence I'm giving you isn't just visibility, it's spiritual velocity. Things will accelerate not just for your sake, but for those you're called to carry with you. You're not walking alone. You're walking as a foreigner, breaking ground for those behind you. So when the blessing begins to flow, remember, it's not just about you. It's about impact. It's about the release of what had been buried in silence and tested in hiddenness. You'll laugh again, not just because joy has returned, but because you'll finally see how every moment of waiting was preparing you to pour into others from a place of overflow, not emptiness. You'll see why I held you back for this exact moment, when what I give you will ripple outward and touch everything it passes. This is bigger than answered prayer. This is a divine chain reaction. And it starts now with you. You've questioned the timing of so many things, wondering if you missed the open door or if your hesitations disqualified you from the plan I had spoken long ago. You've measured your life against timelines that others followed, milestones you thought you'd reach sooner, and expectations that placed unnecessary pressure on your soul. But I want you to hear this clearly: my timeline does not bow to earthly clocks. You have not fallen behind. You are not being punished. What you see as delay, I have used as precise calibration. I've been synchronizing you with the rhythm of heaven, not to withhold, but to make sure everything unfolds when the soil is fertile, the environment is ready, and your spirit is fully prepared to carry what's next without being crushed by the weight of it. There is no missed moment when you're surrendered to my leading. Even what looked like detours were divinely orchestrated routes that kept you from collisions you never saw coming. I protected you by redirecting you. I kept you from places that would have slowed your purpose. And though you didn't always understand the pauses, they were never passive. I was pruning, refining, equipping. You don't see all the growth because much of it happened in silence, but that doesn't mean it wasn't real. In fact, the deepest preparation always occurs away from the spotlight. What I've done in the unseen will soon be revealed through undeniable fruit. This alignment isn't accidental, it's strategic. I've been adjusting more than circumstances. I've been aligning your heart. Because what's coming requires purity over performance, wisdom over speed, and discernment over visibility. I've cleared the noise that once distracted you. I've removed the people who blurred your vision. I've refined your voice so when you speak now, It won't just sound good, it will carry fire. And the people, opportunities and provisions that seem delayed, they're not lost. They were waiting until your spirit matched the weight of your next assignment. You were not forgotten, you were being tuned. You're not behind schedule. You're in perfect positioning. And now, the gates that once stayed closed will begin to respond differently. You'll find yourself entering places with unusual ease, not because they changed, but because your spirit now carries the maturity, humility, and authority that opens doors without force. You'll look around and suddenly recognize why certain things didn't happen earlier. It wasn't rejection, it was divine reservation. I wasn't saying no, I was saying not yet, because I'm making it better than what you asked for. Your appointments being written with your name on them. Connections being prepared that carry purpose beyond what you could have manufactured. The timing isn't random, it's intentional. Even the people I'm sending now have been in preparation for you, just as you have been for them. That's how my kingdom works, interwoven destinies, revealed in the fullness of time. When you finally see it all collide, the readiness, the clarity, the grace, you'll understand why I asked you to wait. You'll see how nothing was wasted. Every tear that felt like a delay was actually watering the seeds I planted long ago. Your job now is not to look at the calendar, it's to keep your eyes on me. Because what you're stepping into will look like catch-up, it will feel like acceleration. What was slow will suddenly gain speed. What was unaware will become undeniable. You will step into moments so perfectly timed, you'll know only I could have arranged them. And when that happens, don't shrink in disbelief. Don't apologize for showing up now. Don't second-guess whether you're ready. And you will know it not just by confirmation, but by the boldness rising inside you that no longer needs to prove anything. You'll know because you won't feel the need to rush. Peace will govern your pace. So breathe. Release the fear that you've fallen behind. Dismiss the lie that your best season passed you by. The truth is, I've been orchestrating a divine collision of preparation and promise, and now they are meeting in real time. You're not late. You're right on cue. You're not an afterthought. You're the fulfillment of something I designed before time even began. And now, you're about to walk into the alignment I've been crafting patiently, faithfully, powerfully for such a time as this. Right now, as you read these words, conversations are taking place that involve you, yet your feet have not yet stepped into those places. People are discussing what you carry, not because they fully understand it, but because the spirit within them is stirred by what I have placed on your life. I am positioning you in ways you never expected. Your reputation is being built by my spirit, not by your striving. You haven't needed to campaign, beg, or force open opportunities. I've assigned angels to announce what I have invested in you. And where your name is being carried, it is not to inflate ego, it is to fulfill purpose. You felt overlooked at times, convinced that what you do quietly must not matter. But the very things you did in secret, the humble acts no one applauded, the choices you made when no one was watching, those are the very offerings I've honored. And now, I'm causing those seeds to rise into view. Not for validation, but for multiplication. I've been whispering your name into hearts with influence. I've been stirring vision in leaders who don't know you yet, but are being drawn to what you carry. I am making space for your gift, not just in one room, but in many. These rooms are not just places of opportunity, they are places of purpose. They hold the next stage of the assignment I've been preparing you for. You've asked, how will they know me? And I answer, because I have made you known. Your obedience has a fragrance, and those walking in alignment with me are drawn to it even if they've never met you. They're drawn to the anointing, not the outer appearance. The sound of your surrender reaches further than the sound of your voice. I don't need you to network your way into destiny, I just need you to remain in posture. Because what's coming for you is not coming through popularity, it's coming through divine placement. I am the one opening these unseen doors, and no one will be able to close them when I turn the handle. This is the season where silent growth turns into visible promotion. But don't mistake visibility for completion. The work I've done inside you is still unfolding. Your name being mentioned isn't the climax, it's the confirmation. What's being set up is bigger than a role or title. It's about impact. I'm not positioning you just for access, I'm positioning you for influence. The way you've chosen character over comfort, integrity over ease, that's what I'm now broadcasting in realms you didn't know had eyes on you. The honor that is coming wasn't manufactured, it was mirrored from heaven. I am aligning hearts to recognize the substance within you, not just the surface. There will be moments very soon when you'll be invited into spaces that seem too significant to make sense. You'll walk through thresholds you never campaigned for. You'll receive calls you never expected. Don't let insecurity question whether you belong. Don't let history define what you're stepping into. I've gone ahead and planted your name like a seed in places that need what you carry. And now it's taking root. Those rooms are not platforms to elevate you, they are altars where your obedience will activate transformation. Your presence won't just be noticed, it will carry weight. You won't just be seen, you'll be trusted with things I wouldn't place in just anyone's hands. Stay grounded. Stay gentle. Don't let the recognition change the posture you cultivated in obscurity. Because what I'm giving you access to now is not a reward, it's a responsibility. The spotlight isn't a throne, it's a tool. And you will know the difference, because your heart is anchored in me. And the more I raise your visibility, the more I will increase your sensitivity. You will feel what others overlook. You will discern what many ignore. You will carry not just revelation, but restoration. So don't be surprised when things start shifting suddenly. Don't be startled when favor moves faster than you imagine. Don't downplay the acceleration, it's my way of honoring what you've done in the quiet. This is the manifestation of every yes you gave when no one was listening. Every step you took while doubting yourself, but trusting me. Your name is not just being spoken, it is being sent. And where it lands, my spirit is already waiting. Walk boldly. You were never forgotten. You were being announced. Amen.